The pain that hollows you out, that turns the world to shades of grey, the pain that makes you feel profoundly and utterly alone. It can be the agony of a body betraying you with chronic illness, the soul-crushing grief of losing someone you cannot live without, the slow despair of a life that has not turned out the way you had hoped, or the sharp anguish of betrayal. When you are in that place, the well-meaning platitudes of the world feel like stones being thrown at you. People will tell you that everything happens for a reason, or that God doesn't give you more than you can handle. They offer simple solutions and positive thinking, but their words cannot reach you in the depths where you are drowning. In that place, God Himself can feel silent. Your prayers can feel like they are hitting a ceiling of brass. You cry out, like the psalmist, my God, why have you forsaken me?" And the silence that answers is the most agonizing part of the pain. Our ancient faith does not shy away from this reality. Unlike so much of modern spirituality, which seeks to bypass suffering with quick fixes and cheerful affirmations, Orthodoxy looks directly into the abyss of human pain. It does not try to explain it away with easy answers. Our prayer book, the Psalms, is filled with the raw, unfiltered cries of men who felt abandoned by God, who wrestled with despair, who questioned the very justice of the universe. The story of Job sits at the heart of our scriptures, a testament to the fact that sometimes righteous people suffer for no reason that makes sense to the human mind. The Orthodox Church gives us permission to be broken. It gives us permission to grieve, to weep, to cry out in confusion and anger. It does not demand that we pretend to be strong or that we have it all figured out. It knows that sometimes the most honest prayer is not a prayer of eloquent words, but a prayer of a single desperate tear. It knows that the foundation of a true spiritual life is not the absence of pain, but what we do and where we turn when that pain becomes unbearable. The world tells you to look inward for strength, to pull yourself up by your own bootstraps, but our faith teaches us something radically different. When the pain is unbearable, you will find that you have no strength of your own. Your bootstraps are gone, and this, in a strange and painful way, is a gift. It is the moment when you are finally stripped of the illusion of self-reliance. It is the moment when you are forced to look for a hope that lies completely outside of yourself. The Orthodox path through suffering does not begin with an answer. It begins with an acknowledgement of our own complete and total weakness. It begins not with a bold declaration of faith, but with the quiet, trembling admission that we cannot go on alone. It is from this place of absolute brokenness, from this valley of the shadow of death, that the first glimmer of true, unshakable hope can finally begin to dawn. It is a hope that is not based on our circumstances changing, but on the unchanging nature of the God who, even in His silence, has not let go of our hand. So what is the prayer for when the pain is unbearable? What do we do when our thoughts are a storm of grief and despair, and our hearts are too shattered to form coherent sentences? The prayer, in that moment, is not one of petition. It is not primarily a prayer for the pain to be taken away. To pray only for a change in circumstance can lead to an even deeper despair when the circumstance does not change. No, the prayer for the crucible of suffering is a prayer of presence. It is a desperate, determined effort to simply remain in the presence of God, even when He feels absent. It is the prayer of the 3 holy youths in the fiery furnace who did not know if they would be rescued, but who knew they would not bow to another god. It is the prayer of the Lord Himself in the Garden of Gethsemane, sweating blood in agony and praying not for escape, but for the Father's will to be done. The prayer in the midst of unbearable pain is the simple, stubborn refusal to let go of Christ's hand, even as the waves crash over your head. In practice, this prayer can be the most simple of all. It can be the repetition of a single sacred name. Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner. This is not a magic incantation. It is a lifeline. When your mind is racing with what-ifs and whys, the Jesus prayer becomes an anchor. You do not need to feel anything. You do not need to have a profound spiritual experience. You simply need to say the words. Each repetition is an act of will, a choice to turn your attention for just a moment from the storm of your pain to the person of Jesus Christ. You say it as you walk. You whisper it as you lie in your bed unable to sleep. You breathe it in and out. In doing so, you are not trying to fix your pain. You are inviting Christ into your pain. You are allowing Him to be present with you in the depths of your own personal hell. You are acknowledging that He is the only one who can walk on that water, the only one who can descend into that tomb with you and bring you out on the other side. The goal here must shift. In unbearable pain, we must abandon the goal of feeling better and embrace the goal of simply being with God. We must let go of our demand for answers and learn to rest in the mystery of His presence. This is a radical reorientation of our spiritual life. It is the understanding that faith is not a tool to manipulate God into giving us what we want. Faith is the trust that He is good and that He is with us, even when every fiber of our being screams that we have been abandoned. It is the faith of the thief on the cross, who in his final moments of agony did not ask to be taken down from the cross, but simply asked, "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom." That is the prayer. Lord, remember me. Do not forget me here in this darkness. Be with me. And the promise of our faith is that He is. He is there. His silence is not absence. It is the quiet, suffering love of a God who is waiting with you, weeping with you, until the morning comes. If you are in that place of pain right now, if these words speak to the ache in your own heart, I want you to know from the depths of my soul that you are seen. Your pain is not invisible, and you are truly not alone. We want this small channel to be more than just a place for messages. We want it to be a quiet room, a safe harbor for hurting souls, a place where you can just be without pretending. If you are hurting and you are looking for a community of people who understand that faith is a journey of peaks and valleys, we would be so humbled if you would subscribe and join us. And in the comments below, I want to ask you to do something simple and brave. You don't have to share your story. Just leave a single candle emoji. It will be a quiet sign to everyone else who is scrolling through, a way of saying, I am here too. I am praying with you. We are holding this vigil in the darkness together. Let's fill this space with light for one another. But why? Why must we endure such pain? Why doesn't a good and all-powerful God simply intervene and take it away? This question has tormented humanity since the beginning of time, and there is no simple answer that can satisfy a suffering heart. But at the center of the Orthodox faith there is not an explanation. There is an image, there is a person. There is the cross. Our God is not an impassive, distant deity, watching the drama of human suffering from a safe distance. Our God, in the person of Jesus Christ, willingly entered into the fullness of human agony. He was betrayed by His friends, denied by His closest companion, mocked and tortured by those in power, and felt the ultimate pain of abandonment on the cross when He cried out, "My God, why have you forsaken me?" He did this, He allowed it. The cross is God's final and definitive answer to the problem of pain, and the answer is not a philosophical proposition, it is an act of solidarity. He does not explain our suffering. He enters into it and shares it with us. This changes everything. It means that when you are in the depths of your pain, you are on holy ground because Christ has been there before you. Your suffering is not a sign of God's displeasure or His absence. It can, if you allow it, become a point of profound communion with Him. The Holy Fathers teach that the cross is the wood that, when thrown into the bitter waters of our suffering, can make them sweet. This does not mean the pain itself becomes pleasant. It means the pain can become meaningful. It can be transformed. When we willingly pick up our own cross, whatever it may be, our grief, our illness, our despair, and unite it to His cross through our prayer and our trust, something miraculous happens. Our small personal suffering becomes part of His great, cosmic and redemptive suffering. It is no longer a meaningless torment. It becomes a participation in the salvation of the world. Furthermore, unbearable pain can serve as a crucible for the soul. It is a fire that burns away everything that is not essential. In our comfort and success, it is easy to become self-reliant, proud, and attached to the fleeting things of this world. But in the furnace of affliction, all of our idols are burned to ash. Our pride is shattered. Our trust in our own strength is revealed as folly. Our reliance on money or status, or even the approval of others, is shown to be worthless. In the end, we are left with nothing. And it is in that nothingness, that holy poverty of spirit, that we can finally encounter God as He truly is. Suffering strips us down to our essential being, and it forces us to answer the only question that truly matters. In whom or in what will we place our ultimate trust? It is a painful and terrifying process, but it is the path to true humility and to a faith that is not a fragile accessory, but a rock-hard foundation that can withstand any storm. Your pain is not a punishment. It is a profound and terrifying invitation to know God in a way that those who have never suffered cannot. This journey through pain is not a theoretical one. It is walked by the saints, the great cloud of witnesses who have gone before us. And it is walked by ordinary people in our parishes every single day. I think of a woman I knew in my first parish, a woman named Eleni. She had been a concert pianist, a brilliant musician whose entire identity, since she was a little girl of 5, was wrapped up in the music she could create with her hands. Her hands were her life. Then, in her early 40s, a degenerative neurological disease began its slow and cruel work. First came the tremors, then the weakness, and finally, the day came when she could no longer play. The music was silenced. The pain of that loss was, for her, truly unbearable. She fell into a deep and bitter despair. She was angry with God, with the world, with her own body. The silence in her home was a constant, mocking reminder of all she had lost. She told me that for over a year, she could not pray with words. She would simply go into her prayer corner, light a candle and weep in silence. That was her prayer. Her tears, her presence, her refusal to completely walk away, even in her anger. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, something began to shift. She began to pray the Jesus prayer, not for healing but just for mercy, just for a single drop of peace in her ocean of grief. One day she came to the church and she sat in the back, not during a service, but in the middle of a quiet afternoon, and she listened. She listened to the silence of the empty church. And in that silence, she told me, she heard a new kind of music for the first time. It was not the music of the piano, but the music of the presence of God. She realized that her identity was not in her hands, but in the fact that she was a beloved child of God. Her worth was not in what she could do, but in who she was, in Him. The pain of her loss did not disappear, but it was transfigured. It became the very thing that opened her heart to a depth of communion with God she had never known in her days of success. She later became one of the most powerful sources of comfort in our parish, visiting the sick and the grieving, because she could speak their language. She could sit with them in their pain without offering easy answers, and her presence brought them the peace of Christ. Her story is the story of our faith. It is the story of how God takes our deepest wounds and makes them into sources of grace, not only for ourselves, but for others. When you are in pain, the prayer book of the Church is the book of Psalms. It is the only book you will ever need. It contains every emotion known to man, offered up to God as prayer. There is anger, there is joy, there is despair, there is hope, there is confusion, there is praise. Whatever you are feeling, there is a psalm for it. Find one. Pray it. Let the words of King David become your own. And know that as you pray, you are joining a chorus of saints that stretches back thousands of years, a chorus of broken hearts, made whole by the love of a suffering God. Our time together is at an end, but our prayers for one another are not. Thank you for being here, for sharing this sacred space. This little community is a testament to the fact that we do not have to walk this path alone. If you feel called, please subscribe and become a permanent part of our family. But more than anything, we want this to be a place of healing, and so we invite you to share your heart. Is there a story of endurance you can share that might give hope to another? Is there a particular saint or a psalm that has been your companion in a time of trial? Let us know in the comments and tell us what other topics you would like us to explore together. Let this be our shared work. Now, as we depart, let me offer you the words that have brought comfort to countless souls in times of darkness. Let this be our prayer for you and for one another. From the 23rd Psalm, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for His name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup runs over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Amen. May God's peace be with you all.